Hey Jennifer.
Hello, Gita. What's up?
So I want to hear a bit more about your story. So you've been in film distribution for how long?
Actually, it's quite an interesting journey. First, I wasn't into film. Right after high school, I wanted to pursue shop psychology. But then after like one semester, I realized psychology wasn't for me. Then a friend of mine got me into film. And that was back in the day when I was 19, still trying to figure stuff out. So then when I joined the film club in my college, I was voted liaison for it. And then I did my first feature film at the community college. And then I went to UC Riverside. And then there's where I started doing more film. But after I graduated, I didn't end up doing film. It's interesting. I ended up doing fashion.
Oh wow. So wait, first two questions already. One, what feature film did you do? And two, how did you end up in fashion? And what did you do there?
Well, the first feature film was like a thriller suspense. It was called Dark Visions. I did it with the brother of Mandy Moore, and we filmed it at his house in Los Feliz. And the way how I ended up in fashion was because I needed a job, of course, and the only person that was hiring was like this. Well, it was like this conglomerate, which was like for up and coming fashion designers. It was they no longer exist. It was like Risi Pilates that sold a lot of Pilates outfits, and then it was also for Jocko, which usually specialized in underwear for men, for Cirque du Soleil and male strippers. Yes, it was an interesting time to be working. So I realized this wasn't really for me, but it paid the bills. Then my mom actually introduced me to this man named Richard Mendoza. He and his brother have been working in film for a long time. And then Richard introduced me to his brother Augie, and Augie introduced me to Steven, and I ended up in distribution at California Pictures. So then I went back to film, and I still am doing film.
How many buyers would you say you tend to work with in 1 year?
Well, one thing I learned is about territories. I did not know that certain films have to be sold in different territories, and also I learned what is on in demand, what country is looking for what in a certain year. Like for example, one day France could be looking for an action thriller, then next year they're looking for a holiday classic or a rom-com or animation. But the one movies that seem to sell more is family, horror, and what else? Certain documentaries that specialize in the environment.
What about the approach for filmmakers to distributors? Any learnings there from being on the other side as a distributor? I mean, any learnings you would recommend to any other filmmaker or to yourself?
Oh well, one thing I've learned is that do not pitch short films because there is no market for it. There also is no money for it. So I'm just letting the filmmakers know that right ahead. Like if you have a short film and you have no progress to make it into a feature, then it's better that you don't spend your money to come out here or to go to AFM and pitch a short. So save your money, put that all aside, and start working on a feature film, the one that you want to do. And that's my best advice for them, because you'd be surprised how many filmmakers come here with a short and they think they're going to get picked up, and I'm sorry.
And why do you think that is?
Because shorts, well, of course they're shorts, but people, from my understanding, is shorts, there's not really that many formats, platforms that would pick it up. Everybody's always looking for a feature-length film, especially if it has a name. Sometimes art houses, there is a market for it, but not that much. But we never give up on a movie. That's the California Picture motto. We will never give up on a movie. And we will pitch it. We will try to see if we can find it in a home territory. If not, we will distribute it ourselves. So that is part of like the lessons I've learned with like for the filmmakers to tell them like, hey, this is one way you could do it. But also, I guess the reason why shorts are not much acquired is because it's more like for the filmmaker to master their craft. Yeah, those work more better in film festivals.
Yes, absolutely. I think we had a similar conversation recently where we were also saying the same. If you can make a full feature, then rather invest in that. But to just show the craft, then short
Yes.
films are amazing. Did you do shorts as well when you started out?
Yeah, of course. Like Dark Visions was a short, and usually like I also worked on some as a PA for some of my friends' films. There were also shorts, and of course there was like some shorts that never came out into the light. I also filmed a pilot for like for to pitch to networks, but then something happened to the sound, and then like the producers ran out of money. Then the main producer left, went AWOL, but filmmakers will always meet a person like that. So,
So, being a filmmaker, could you walk me through what your process is like?
okay, well, first when I started writing, I usually like to just like focus some time for myself. And I usually gave myself like an hour, like every Sunday, to create my stories. So my process is this: like usually, like I mentioned before, like I devote myself like 1 hour on Sundays to write. I will say I do have writer's block, but I want to make sure I get some ideas. I go forward with the idea. I also have like a team of friends who are also filmmakers, and they love to read my stuff and give me credits. Like not credit, I mean like give me like notes to let me know like, okay, this doesn't make sense, or maybe you could do it this way. But they will never tell me like, oh, it's just terrible.
And what kind of films are you interested to make?
That's a good question. I just think probably more like a thriller, or my favorite genre has always been like the combination of sci-fi and romance, kind of like Gattaca, Her. Which one was it? In Time, like those two aspects, because like I always like the whole notion of how like futuristic and how love would look like.
Based on your experience, how do you find finance for your films and how do you pitch them to investors?
All right, so I am like still learning that aspect, so I'm not really sure, but I've noticed that there are like a lot of like network places. And of course, this is an industry like it's not what you know, it's who you know. So it's better to see like seek out people who are financing films. And people told me to like once I get like a lot of my writing going, to look for an agent. They could probably help you with like getting your screenplay noticed. And that's one of the advices I got from like from I forget like who was that writer, but it'll come to mind. It was like a long time ago, but that was like one of the solid advice that I got, because everybody here will always tell you like, oh, I got lucky, or they'll gatekeep and not let you know how it works, and they just tell you to like the first step is to write. I'm like, well, duh, of course, but what afterwards? How do I get somebody in the higher ups to read it? So the best advice was like get an agent.
Going back to distribution, are there any regions that stand out more from others? And are there any regions that you would recommend a filmmaker should first focus on? And would there be a certain approach to each of these
The
regions?
regions that stand out more and we approach the most is Asia, because Asia, they love a lot of action movies, they love a lot of horror movies, they love animation. They'll like pick up like family films. Latin America, it's such a small territory. It's usually animation and blockbuster movies. Europe is also good, but like Europe is kind of complex because it's either they're picking up for like the Slavic countries, the Baltics, Russia, Spain, Portugal. and they all have like their different criterias. But like Asia, they just seem to like pick the same, and they're very honest with what they're looking for.
Sales process take, would you typically say?
Well, I'm not really much in the sales aspect. That's like our lovely executive vice president, Monique R. White. She would always, like right now, she's in the Cannes Film Festival with us, like meeting with buyers. So this process could take like a week to sometimes a month or more. Yeah, so it's hard to tell because sometimes buyers need to like rethink it. Some of them have like a type of quota of how many films they could pick up, so they have to make the hard decision like, do I pick this one up or do I pick this one up? So we're always like hoping they pick ours up.
And how many buyers generally come to work with you guys in a year?
I would say this is just a guess, but between 30 to 70 buyers.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. We wish you best of luck with your films and hope to see them soon.
I will put him on Go Creator.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.